Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Dusty and Huss with you here on The Lock Shop, and excited to get into the BMW Championship. We'll have a full CFL episode on Thursday as well, and we are T-minus 2 weeks to NFL betting, or at least a bunch of futures episodes, which should be exciting. Huss, what's up, buddy?
Well, listen, to be honest, we could get in. Do you want to just do our BMW picks in 30 seconds and spend the next half hour talking about NFL futures? I'm all in for that. I was counting down, Dusty. I believe we have 3 more Mondays without Monday Night Football, and then
That's
Monday
it, hey?
that is
Holy
it by my
smokes.
calculations. August 21, August 28, and Labor Day, September 4th, and then we are back. Chiefs Lions on the 7th, the first full weekend. Sunday on the 10th, and then September 11th, the first Monday nighter, and then we are good to go for the rest of the season. I've already planned. I'm going to the Chiefs Vikings game on Canadian Thanksgiving, which is great because no shows that day to come back in time for the Monday nighter, and then heading out to Calgary the next day for Jets Flames season opener. Planning on coming to Edmonton the following weekend. Maybe I can high five you in the air as you come here to do the Elks.
I was going to say, do you want to live? Do you want to live at my house with my family?
I don't know if I'm built for that, bro. I don't know if I'm built for that.
Dude, you could not handle one day trying to be with my family. And my family's great, but it's a lot. It's a lot. There's no doubt about it. They're great, though. All right, so, yes, BMW Championship. We're going to get into that, like we said, another week in the Canadian Football League. Bounce-back week coming for us in the CFL. You know, just quickly, last week in the Canadian Football League, because we didn't have an episode yesterday due to some technical issues as we continue to get the new office set up here in Edmonton. But it was an interesting week in the Canadian Football League, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, first off, the Bombers-Elks game. I mean, we're still talking about it here in Winnipeg. I mean, obviously, Drew Brown, incredible performance coming off the bench down 22-0. But honestly, Dusty, I mean, I'm sitting here for a team that is, on the verge of a dynasty. The Bombers, the BC Lions, and the Argos are clearly the best 3 teams in the Canadian Football League. And I think Montreal is in a tier all their own after that. Yeah. And then there's everybody else. And even on Winnipeg Sports Talk, we can't stop talking about the Elks. I mean, the Elks are such a wild, wild story. And, of course, Victor Queen no longer with the club. I mean, I know you're a lot closer to that than I am, and I came on the show yesterday to talk about it. It is such a disaster. And it's one of those things that's like a car crash in slow motion. You just can't turn away. And we're going to get to it tomorrow. I mean, they're 5.5-point underdogs to the Hamilton Ticats, and it just speaks to where the Elks are because the Ticats have no business probably being a favorite to anyone. Never mind 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5's big. So yeah, there's lots of juicy tidbits to get into on our CFL episode tomorrow. As for the BMW Championship, I don't just go back to FedEx St. Jude. What'd you make of that? I mean, there was a lot of our guys going into Sunday. All 3 of my guys are in the top 20. The postman ended up slipping out, I believe, but there's some big names out there. And what about Glover? My goodness, what a run!
Yes, well, he won't have to worry about getting beat up with his wife anytime soon. Krista must be quite happy. That, I mean, I kind of make a joke about that. I probably shouldn't, but I mean, that was, I mean, when you have a disaster like that happen so publicly,
yeah.
And then stay together. I mean, it sort of hangs around with you. And I mean, for Lucas Glover, who's old, I mean, what is it, 13, 14 years ago that he won the U.S. Open? I mean, he is a major champion, but he hasn't really been a significant
He was off
player
the radar for a long time, buddy.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's going back to back. And listen, if he wins this tournament, if he goes back to back to back, like, I don't know how they keep him off the Ryder Cup team, which a month ago would have seemed almost inconceivable. But there is a lot on the line, mostly cash. But for the last couple of guys that are trying to make some statement that they need to be that guy, I mean, particularly on the American team, there is a lot at stake. I will say this is from a betting perspective, I really prefer the regular tour events. I mean, once we get down to these smaller fields, the numbers are shorter. But again, I think we'll get into the picks. I think this is sort of the time where the cream really does rise to the crop, even though Lucas Glover shocked everybody again, being the hottest player on tour, but winning again last week.
All right, Huss. Well, let's get into the picks. I will say, man, usually I'm the chalky guy. I was a little surprised when I saw Rory at plus 750 on your card. Explain this to me.
Well, listen, Rory is we talk about the big game hunters. Rory's the big check hunter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know he hasn't won a major in a little while, but look at what he's done at the biggest events. And listen, the FedEx Cup is a huge part of it. And he, in a lot of ways, has been the poster boy for the PGA Tour. There's a $15 million check waiting for them at the end of the Tour Championship. And let's not forget how important your standing is in that event after the BMW Championship with the staggered start. So, I mean, I really think Rory would absolutely love to be that guy at East Lake in Atlanta, holding up that trophy and the $15 million check, which obviously is more than any major championship. And to do that, I mean, I think he's got to have a real strong performance this week. Hey, he was one shot off last week when Cantlay and Glover went to a playoff.
Yeah, right there.
And overall, if you look at his results over the past couple months, I mean, he's been very consistent and he's been there week in and week out. So I really do sort of expect to see Rory, if not winning the Tour Championship, being right there. But I think a big part of it will be a strong week. And listen, I know we're sort of all off the scent because Lucas Glover's won these last two tournaments. Rory is one shot off. He can absolutely do this. So, in an event where, normally I'll have a couple plays and maybe a fewer longer shots, I'm just going to make a bigger wager on Rory at plus 750. I consider John Rahm. His form hasn't been great, but Rahm did win the last time this tournament was at Olympia Fields in Illinois, where they're going to be this week. I thought about Cantlay, who's looked good last week. He's 12-1, and he's coming off back-to-back wins in the BMW, although different golf course. So when it comes down to it, I think a lot of the data tells me Rory has the best chance to win this game, win this matchup, and I think that the intangibles of what it would mean, in addition to the massive paycheck, get me to put a little bit of a bigger chunk on McIlroy this weekend. And then Sungjae M. Sungjae was, I think, 6th last week. He's a guy that has the game. I mean, for this pick, I was just trying to go further down the board for a number in the 20s or 30s that I think has a good chance of winning, has some good form. Obviously, he'll want to be in the mix for East Lake, and a great performance this week will do that for him. So if you want a bit of a longer shot, I like Sungjae, and I am going to throw Sungjae in, a top 20 for a partner parlay. But to me, this is where you make a pick, you ride with it. I'm going with one of the big boys, Rory McIlroy, this week.
I like it. I like seeing you step up like this and go after one of these guys. I've done it a little bit in the past, and it's been close. There's no doubt it's been close. We do have Pat's picks. Pat's driving. He's got a bunch of lacrosse work going on right now. He's down in the United States. He was going to connect, but he's having a little bit of trouble connect. So we do have Pat's picks. We'll get to them in just a second. I'm going to get on Vic Hovland this week. I haven't been on Vic in a while. I'm not anti-Vic. I'm looking back at a lot of my picks, and I don't think I've been on Vic in a while. And you're going to get him here at plus 1,800. That's 18-1. And this is a guy whose putting has certainly improved over the last little while. And we know he's kind of got the rest of the game here. And there's been times, I think, when you get onto a more difficult course, like what I'm reading about this course is going to be, he plays better on these difficult courses. I don't know if it's just maybe he's more consistent than some of these other guys, or why he has had that type of success. So I'm gonna get on Hovland here at 18-1. I feel like he's kind of been sniffing all around it as well, which helps. I also have not been. This has been more of, I mean, I would assume Pat probably loves my picks this week, but because he's a big Tommy Fleetwood guy. I'm getting on Tommy Fleetwood here at 25-1. Fleetwood's been hitting the ball extremely well, hasn't he, Huss? Like he just, he's been all over it. So what, he finished T3 last week. He was playing well before that as well. So Tommy Fleetwood at 25-1. Is this the time that he gets it done? And then we've gone through this a number of times with our golf betting episodes on the Lock Shop, but I'm circling back around to it again. There's that guy that you're on that you just can't get away from. And it's paid off a few times for us. It didn't pay off for Pat a couple weeks ago when he finally got off of Glover and he ended up winning. So I'm going to circle back around here to Russell Henley. I love Russell Henley in this range at 40-1, right? I just think there's some really good value there on Russell Henley at 40-1. I think he's 15th in the standings right now. He's just been playing insanely consistently for basically the entire year. So Henley at 40-1, I can't not have him on my card again. So I'm on Hovland, Fleetwood, and Henley this week.
And Pat is with you on Hovland, and the other guy that's looking to get a good spot in the rankings going to Eastlake is Max Homa, who's 28-1, and that's Pat's other outright. Max Homa at plus 2,800. Listen, I do like Vic Hovland. I think Vic should be there, and I think he'll be there in Eastlake. I mean, it wouldn't at all surprise me to see him in one of those final couple groups a week from now in Atlanta. We put those together. Now, as far as I do have a couple of other
what else you got? I saw you sent those over.
So listen, I mean, Cantlay T5 at plus 180, I think is pretty tempting.
Look at you going to Cantlay, eh?
This tournament, well, I mean, it's 12-1 to win. And I mean, he could have easily won last week. And I mentioned his history at the BMW Championship before. As I said, I don't know how much we can take from that because it's a different course. But I'll tell you what, Cantlay, wasn't he the leader going into the Tour Championship last year, if I'm not mistaken?
This is one of the reasons that I was very much considering him last week. He was amazing last year, right? So he's set for this stage for sure. And what's the number on him?
He's 12-1. But listen, I think Rory's going to be there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jon Rahm is there too. I mean, all of these guys need good weeks to make sure that they're in preferably pole position when they do the stagger. So Jon Rahm at plus 165 for a top 5, and Pat Cantlay at plus 180 for top 5s. I think listen, it's worth putting down. If you get one of those right, you're going to be ahead of the game. And listen, I as I said, it's harder maybe to put those big money numbers. Like once you're invested in one of the favorites at plus 750, you got to do that. But listen, I think the top 5 could include Rory and Rahm and Cantlay. And I mean, all those guys jockeying for spots at the top start of the tournament when obviously the strokes are handed out for that unique format in Eastlake. So I think I'm going to do exactly that. Kind of put a unit on the Rahm 165 for top 5. Same thing for Cantlay. If both of them come in, fantastic.
Yeah.
But if one of them comes in, you're ahead of the game. And if nothing else can make up the McIlroy bet if that doesn't pay off. But as they say, it's this very different tournament with the smaller field, and it's going to be even more so next week with the staggered start. So Sungjae is my little bit of a long shot, but as they say, in this tournament specifically, I'm really focusing on the top dogs. Rory is an outright, and Cantlay and Rahm both to be in the top 5. Rahm did win this event. I think I mentioned that last time they were at Olympia Fields.
Okay, so for a top 20 parlay this week, you said you want to throw Sungjae in there?
Yeah, let's go Sungjae for that one.
And I
minus 147.
I texted you guys earlier. I want Corey Connors in there at minus 110. And then should we just throw Vic in as Patty's pick because I was also on him, or do we go like a Vic top 10 or something, or what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing is, Vic is so low here.
So chalky on that one for top 20. What's his top 10 number?
It's at plus 120 on top 10.
Yeah, let's do that if you're okay with that. I mean, Pat and I are both on him to win it, so that would end up putting that number in a pretty good spot, I think.
Yeah. So Connors
Hovland, top 20,
top 10, and and Sungjae Im.
So Im and Connors top 20, and Vic top 10.
Top 10.
All right,
exactly.
There we go. We'll pass it along to the boys, and we'll have that posted in the exclusive section over with our partners at coolbet.com. And should be a good one, buddy.
You got it. Then tomorrow we'll get back in it and try and bang out another winner on the partner parlay for the CFL. get our picks for the week that begin on Thursday. Bombers in Calgary on Friday. Imagine there's just the incredible level of excitement for this next Elks game in Edmonton must be palatable right now.
Well, they get Hamilton here right away, and maybe the dub. Maybe a money line them this week. Maybe Victor Cui was holding them back. Who knows us? There's only one way to find out, and that's to tune in to Canadian Football League coverage. I got some calls this afternoon with the Bombers and the Stampeders. It's the first two for me this weekend, and I look forward to calling that game. And we'll dive into it more, but we got to talk about the Calgary offense here a little bit. So we'll dive into that tomorrow on the Lock Shop. That'll do it for a BMW Championship.
Bomber offense too. I mean, in all likelihood, are you talking to Drew Brown this afternoon? Is he going to be the guy? Or,
I don't think we're talking to any quarterbacks from the Bombers this week. Well, maybe we're talking to Drew. I guess I should figure that out before I log on to the call.
Well, listen, Caleros didn't practice the last 2 days, and that number, which was 7, which I thought was a lot, is now down to 6.5. Just in case you're wondering, Elks are plus 183 on the money line as of right now. Again, we'll make our picks tomorrow. 5.5 point road underdogs. Bombers 6.5 point favorites in Calgary right now for the Friday night game. Alouettes laying 3 in Ottawa on Saturday, and then BC and Saskatchewan. BC 9.5 point road favorites in Saskatchewan. And we sort of glossed over that complete no-show by the Riders last week in Montreal. That was
tough. Yeah.
Rider Nation not pleased right now. Not pleased.
Well, we will break into that tomorrow with our CFL episode of The Lock Shop. That is going to do it for us today. Huss, looking forward to that episode tomorrow, buddy. We'll talk to you then.
You got it, pal. Take it easy.